Hello, I'm Amit Karmi. I'm the co-founder and the CEO at SET. I am here in this beautiful weather in London to understand what the hell our mobile game studios are doing with this thing called AI. I am personally obsessed about discovering the unfiltered truth of what the OGs of the mobile games industries are thinking and doing with AI, and most importantly, what are their biggest secrets of success in this new era of intelligence. This is Unpredictable Hits, the show for marketing and UA people around the globe to stay sharp, climb higher, and most importantly, don't get left behind in this new era of AI. Let's go. A dear friend, investor, engineer, founder, the most loved person on the planet.
You haven't spoken to my mother-in-law, I guess.
So it's really great to have you here.
Thank you.
Maybe you wanted to start and hear your very, very unique story about your personal life, actually.
Sure. It's great to be here. I'm a bigger fan of you than you are of me.
I love you more. I love you more.
Yeah, my story is actually kind of interesting, and I'd say unique. I'm Turkish originally. I grew up in Turkey between 0 to 16 years of age. And then at 16, I went by myself to the US as an exchange student in high school to do my last year of high school in the US. And then I lived in the US for 16 years. So I did high school, undergrad, my graduate studies, first work experience, everything.
What was your first work?
The first work I did, I'm thinking back. So there's like a common thing that, all people that end up being entrepreneurs later have like early experiments with stuff. So I used to, this is quite illegal, I'm sure, but I used to sell so we used to have term homeworks in Turkish schools. And because I was a nerd, I would not mind doing those really heavy and tedious types of homeworks. And my friends were not as nerdy as me. So I would actually they would pay me to do their homeworks for them.
Oh my God.
And then around the same time, I started realizing that people really love playing like snooker or pool. And so I realized I would organize these tournaments in my hometown, where I would like go and like book a pool, place you play pool in. And I would organize this tournament where you had to pay to enter, and there would be a prize money at the end.
Oh my God, you did gaming.
I did gaming. That's right.
In Wisconsin.
This is in Turkey. This is still Turkey. Yeah. So I was like 15 or 16 when I was doing this.
This is brilliant.
And I did it a couple times, and it was actually really good. I mean, it was like small money then. But then I moved to the U.S. as an exchange student and moved to Wisconsin, which I absolutely adore and love the U.S. with every single bone in my body. I mean, like with any country, it has a lot of faults and problems, but it made me who I am. In many ways, it's home for me. I met my wife when I was an 18-year-old student in Wisconsin and everything. So anyway, I lived in Wisconsin. I went to the University of Wisconsin for undergrad. And my wife was studying pharmacology at the time. Actually, she was studying biochemistry. And then she is one of the best students you will have ever met in your life. So she got a graduate scholarship to do her PhD at Yale University. So I basically followed her. I went to Yale. I applied and got in. And Yale engineering department was actually not very good at the time.
Yeah, really?
So yeah, because Yale is like better for kind of hardcore sciences and like liberal arts.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Yale engineering, graduated with my master's from there, and then, as with most people who they don't know what they want to do with their life, end up becoming McKinsey consultants. I became a McKinsey consultant because I had no idea what I want to do with my life. I was a consultant for 2 years. I did not like it one bit. I mean, it was like I really, really hated that experience, but I learned a lot. So it was a very interesting experience in the sense, but it was very, very hard work, and it was also work that wasn't, emotionally fulfilling.
Why is that? A lot of people that worked in McKinsey and other consultant firms, like sharing the same experience, you learn a lot, you work a lot,
yes,
but something is not fulfilling.
It's because I think the type of people that McKinsey attracts are people that are overachievers, right? Insecure overachievers is what we call it. But the work you do is almost trivial work in a way, and it's not really intellectually interesting. So after a few years, the work becomes repetitive, and
Yeah.
and you have this feeling that you're not really doing something real. I didn't really have a particularly stellar career. I mean, I just barely made it by at McKinsey. And then after that, I had my I want to save the world phase, which led me to do consulting for the United Nations, basically. So I was there for about 2 years.
Wow, I
working
didn't know that actually.
So it
Wow.
was a bunch of people from McKinsey left and started this new company called Dahlberg, which was the business model was the same. The only difference was McKinsey did work for pretty much any client, and these guys would only do work for UN agencies and what we called forward-thinking institutions, World Bank, et cetera, Gates Foundation, Clinton Foundation. It was intellectually incredibly satisfying, but there was no money to be made. So, I did those two things for, I would say, 3.5, 4 years. And then I went to Harvard Business School and graduated in 2009. And while I was, studying, and, we can talk about it, but I've always loved, technology, and I've always been like a student of math and everything. At HBS, I decided that I want to build my career on technology. And back then, I think people that heard that decision, they looked at me like I was really crazy, because back then there was a hierarchy at HBS, and if you were really good, you went to the hedge funds, and then some people started companies, but that was not the kind of the most trodden path. So I decided to go into technology, and then the first job I had out of HBS was at Skype.
Wow. So it's insane because you started in Turkey.
Yeah.
You moved to the US.
Yes.
Then you started engineering.
Yes.
Then you learned business.
Yes.
Then you decided you want to go to technology.
Yes.
You worked at the United Nations and consulted for them.
Yes.
So it seems like you take risk, like big risk of a time based on the trend that you kind of predict will dictate the world. Yeah. And why did you make this decision to go into technology back then?
So it's a very good question. I never actually tried to predict or chase the trends. I just always optimized for what I felt happy doing. But if you're good in like math and sciences, you didn't go study history, or you didn't go study something else. You just studied engineering or medicine. So when I moved to the US to go to university, I was like, okay, I have to study engineering, and I did that. But after that, the choices I made were, like, for instance, if you take HBS or if you take the United Nations, I wanted to do that because I felt like this is what would make me happy. There wasn't this like grand scheme or grand plan of what I was going to go to McKinsey and then business school, etc. It was like, I am happy doing what I'm doing now. The decision to kind of go into technology was, I had a litmus test of, I remember coming back home from McKinsey, and my wife would ask me, how was your day? And I would not want to talk about my day. Whereas I would come home and I'd want to talk to her about like what I did or what I read about in tech. And so that was my personal litmus test. So that meant that I didn't necessarily see it as work. I found it naturally, I was curious. And in many ways, I'm a techno-optimist. I feel that technology is the only way to save the humankind. So that's kind of what I like, and that's kind of what motivates me, and that's why I went into technology. Gaming is different. We can talk about that.
We will speak about games. So you started at Skype, then you have the famous period in Meta that every partner that we are working with so far is telling me, like when I'm said that we work with Akin and is part of the journey that we're having, is I ask him always, like, how do you know Akin? So I expect, he's like the most famous investor now. He is co-founded Tripledot. Everyone said, yeah, he was we worked together when he was in Meta. Every one of the big ones at King, Century, everyone. So can you maybe tell us a bit about your time specifically in Meta when games weren't that, such a booming industry like now, specifically mobile?
I mean, I joined Facebook in 2012. So I was at Skype for a couple of years, and then in between, I transitioned into gaming. Specifically, I was an advisor to Peak Games, and they wanted me to move back to Turkey, and I didn't want to move back to Turkey at the time, and I instead, ended up in London. But I became an advisor, and I stayed as an advisor all through until the exit to Zynga. The Facebook thing really came off from an opportunity because I was a big fan of what Facebook was building in general, but they were looking for someone who was fascinated with games, and I knew a little bit about it from my time at Peak Games. That's basically how it came about, and it was a very, very small company back then. It was like 2,000 people maybe.
Wow.
So and in London we were maybe 50 or 60 people. So
2012.
It was 2012.
Oh,
so
wow.
it doesn't feel like it was such a long time ago, but I absolutely loved my time there because it was basically almost like a startup within a startup. Like being in Europe, I was leading the kind of the games partnerships team there, and specifically for countries like Russia and for Israel, where there was not even an office of Facebook on the ground for those countries for a long time. So my time at Facebook was basically we have this platform. Zuck had this like famous platform strategy, and if you remember, Facebook, the web version of Facebook, had a big gaming platform called Canvas. And it was generating $1 billion plus in revenue, but it was not really looked after. It was not really kind of resourced after. And so my initial goal was to make people developing games for that platform, help them make more money.
Okay.
That was the thing. So it wasn't an ad sales role. It was more a like product partnerships type role. And we did, and we helped a lot of tools. I helped develop the tool for which we have a patent. Most people don't realize the level of detail we got involved in for the partners we were working with. But I actually really loved the type of people we were working with. I'm a very people-driven person. And this is kind of unique to gaming because I think gaming is what happens when, I often say it's very creative like a movie studio, but it's also very analytical, like maybe like a hedge fund, right? So it's what happens when a hedge fund and a movie studio have a baby is a gaming studio. So I was drawn to the people in those kind of environments, and really loved the people that I was working with at Facebook. So for 2.5 years, I was basically looking after the games partnerships team, and then when we were launching the Audience Network, which is Facebook's mobile ad network, people looked around and realized that, we don't really have anyone in the company that has worked with an ad network before. And I had a brief period of time where I was at InMobi for a while. And so I was like, I was asked to do it, and I said, I'm happy to do it. So it was a team of 4 or 5 of us that launched the original Audience Network.
Wow.
Which was, which then became
one of the biggest things there. It's
big success story.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's what I did. I was there just around 5 years. And after Facebook, I did a bunch of things. I started to, angel invest a little bit, etc. But I always had this entrepreneurship bug that I wanted to scratch. And but I never worked in a gaming company before. So I said, I must work in a gaming company and learn, how the business works. And so I went to Activision Blizzard King for a year. It was good, but it was another big company, and I didn't, know that that's what I would do for the next 5 years or so. And through that, actually reconnected with a very good friend of mine called Lior, and we basically decided to start Tripledot together with Eyal, who's our third co-founder.
Do you remember, Akin, the time that you sat and you decided we are going to open a game studio?
Yes. It didn't happen like, in an instant. It just happened over a series of conversations. So because of my time at Audience Network, I was always fascinated by, like ad-based games and their true potential. There was a big mismatch in how people viewed those games and how I viewed those games. People still to this day look at those games as like orphans.
Yeah.
Right? It's IAP revenue is higher quality than in-app ads revenue and so on. But I saw that something happened in the market, something changed, that you could actually build those games and make enough money to scale with paid user acquisition, those type of games. And I wanted to build games that last and retain for a long period of time. So I was tinkering with a solitaire game on the side. And I think this is how it started. I don't remember exactly the conversation with Lior, how it started, but I was like talking about solitaire. He was like, oh yeah, I like those type of games a lot. And Lior had a previous business partner with whom they were trying to buy other companies, and they looked at a couple opportunities where they have solitaire companies. So it started, and we are like good friends and we love each other and everything. So then we said, oh, we could do this. And actually Tripledot initially started where we were like, should we build our own games or should we just like buy a company and then, optimize? So it happened over a series of conversations. But to me, I always trusted Lior 1,000% and said like, this is a proven guy. He built Product Madness before. And if, you're going to go into business with anyone, it has to be someone like that. Same with Eyal. Eyal is like, an incredible guy, very creative, very analytical, has unique combination of skills. And we said, let's do it.
Amazing. And as I think everyone that is listening here knows that Tripledot was like the fastest growing company in UK. Still
in
now
Europe.
In Europe. I put you there. It was a bait.
2023 by the Financial Times. Yes.
And now it's also one of the biggest company now, especially after the acquisition of Uplovin Studios. Can you maybe share with us the toughest lesson or toughest time that you had while you were co-founded Tripledot and during your time period there?
Yeah, of course. I think for me personally, the toughest period was, the initial phases when we are like building. So I will say, there's a lot of, stories being told about people that start companies and how you have to go through hell every day. And it didn't feel like that to me at all. I actually really enjoyed the journey. I loved building the company together with Lior and Eyal. So for me personally, the toughest part was obviously when you're a startup and when you don't have enough resources. I had a young kid at home and, I went to a good business school and all my classmates were making a lot of money. And, they were investment bankers at like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and so on. And it's really tough to say when you're, I think I was like 30 something 37 at the time. We were not making we're not taking salaries and everything. We're not making any money. And it's like an uncertain future, right? You're going to work really hard for the next 4 or 5 years. And even then, statistically, you will fail.
I know this feeling.
You know this feeling very well. Exactly. Well, statistically, you won't fail.
Yeah, no, we won't let it go.
But it was a very hard thing to kind of say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I decided. And even though that statistical fact is there, I'm lucky enough to have a very supportive wife to say, you do that. And the way I got through it is by saying, look, I don't know why I picked on Accenture as the worst case, but it's like, if this doesn't work, you can always get a job at Accenture, And I don't know. I've never worked at Accenture. I'm sure it's a lovely place, but I kind of had this thing in my mind where it said that is the worst case thing, and that's okay. And so we'll just kind of plummet ahead. But there were times where, it was tough, and we don't come from money. So, there were tough times where we said, are we doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And so on. But I think that's okay. I think that's like a normal kind of, I think it's very common for founders to go through that.
How do you divide the time period between and your feeling? Because you're speaking a lot about feeling and how do you want to feel in your job, not specifically what you're doing. Do you remember the feeling that you had during, I don't know, the first 6 months, 12 months, the 0 to 1, 1 to 5, I don't know, time period as a founder, compared to I have now hundreds of people. Yeah. It's a big company.
Yes.
We have a lot of money. You raised a lot of money. You have a lot of people in your board. You have a lot of discussions. You have a lot of people underneath you. You have a lot of processes, departments. Yes. So can you maybe tell us about the feeling that you had between this, in each time period?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a 0 to 1 guy. After 45 years on this planet, I know this about myself. I really like that early stages of uncertainty about kind of problem solving, the kind of hustle and the lack of structure and trying to make meaning out of that lack of structure. That's kind of where I thrive. And I'm actually relentless when it comes to those periods. Like I always try to find a solution, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's when I felt most in my element. Like I wore many hats. Initially, I did marketing and monetization. Then I did like some product. Then I did fundraising. Then I did this. I did that. We all did hiring, all of us all together. But really, a startup is you're making a ton of decisions in a given day, and you need more than half of them in average to be the right decision, which means that you're going to make about half of them are going to be wrong decisions, and you have to be okay with that. I think what I kind of run away before in my previous companies, like Facebook and Activision and so on, when they become too large, I always felt that like towards the end, I wasn't doing real work at Facebook. Like what I did totally didn't matter. And I wanted to do more. Maybe I wanted to have a lot more impact. I wanted to touch things and so on. But you could literally remove me from the picture and then nothing would change. So then I left. I think Tripledot was very different. So as you know, I stepped away from the operational role because I felt that, I'm really a 0 to 1 guy at heart. So I am not like, if I'm not coming in to work every day and really ready to go to war almost, then, it's, better for everyone that I actually, and, when I posted that on LinkedIn, everybody was like, oh, what happened? What's the real story? And like, that's the real story because, thankfully for us, we don't need the money anymore and everything. It's just that, when I'm at that scale of a company, right, I really want to do work that is challenging to me. And Tripledot is a big company, like you said. And for me personally, my personal challenge set is to create something new again. That's where I feel most energized. Nothing wrong with big companies, right? There's absolutely, and Tripledot is doing phenomenally well. But it's just about what gets you up in the morning, I really am excited about this new chapter with Arcadia and, what we can do there. So that's kind of so those are, I would say, two different phases of the Tripledot story.
Oh, interesting.
We also had a separate, but a lot of people tell us like a lot of people don't realize we have, and this very well, when we did Tripledot, we spun out a company called Luna Labs from Tripledot. So we were actually co-founders of Luna Labs. And then, I hired one of my very good friends to help us run it. And then we had another guy who's built the engine. We had another guy who was like heading sales for us. And they made an amazing team. And Luna Labs was a success story. So, there was that part of the journey as well.
Even in the big company, you found a path to build something 0 to 1 in its own unique situation. Actually, it's very interesting, like to do stuff like that and to do it well, because I've heard a lot of founders, operator, executives that are trying to do it. It's like opening a new business use case or something like that, or business unit. But most of the time it is like unsuccessful. And it's good like that you have the success story while growing Tripledot, like, I think now it's one of the biggest, biggest revenue driver for mobile games in the world. It's insane. So it's, I assume it was very, like you feel the child again. This is what I love about building stuff from zero.
Exactly. That's much better way to say it than what I said. I mean, Tripledot is a very special place. I will say, so I'm still on the board of Tripledot. I'm still, when called upon, I still help a lot. So I'm still very much, I have my shares and so on. So like, I'm a huge believer in the future of the company, and I think what makes Tripledot special is that it's a very unique company that can really attract the best of the best and actually give them really intellectual freedom to, to pursue different things. Does Tripledot do everything perfectly? Of course not. I don't think there's any company that does everything perfectly, but it's a very special place. I mean, it's obviously a huge place in my heart, and but like you said, I have the luxury now to chase that feeling of feeling like a kid again. So that's what I decided to do.
Amazing. Okay, let's do a stop for a minute.
Yes.
And I want to give you, first of all, a present from a
Oh
set.
boy. Okay.
You should be prepared for that. And
Okay.
then we will play a little game. And then we will continue the
Okay.
fun
Sounds
part.
good. All right.
So
I did not know any of this, by the way.
It's a
Just
genuine reaction, guys. Genuine reaction. So this is...
Oh my God, this is incredible. Oh
the
my
power
God.
of AI, guys.
Oh wow.
Wow.
This is Oh man. I love it. This is a fox, is it?
Is this a very handsome fox?
A very
like
handsome
you,
fox.
Akin.
Wow.
Very handsome fox.
Well, I lost a lot
know
of weight, as you know, so we'll have
It's
to.
not- it will make it. We will
Oh,
shrink
this
it a
is
bit.
very-
But
this-
I know because of your love to China, so the kung fu and
Yes.
everything that is
Thank you so
relevant.
much. This is
It's for you, for your home,
This
for
is
your new home.
incredible.
Instead of famous and expensive art, you can have this.
This is incredible. I will definitely. I'm gonna put this here
Yeah,
for the rest of the conversation, like next to me, so we can see it. But
this
thank
is-
you. This is amazing.
And now you
Yes.
should choose one of the cards. You will
Okay.
have a question there that both you and I don't we
Okay.
don't know, and then you will answer.
Let's pick
Which
the
one you
fourth from the left. Yes, that one. Thank you.
This one. It's your questions. You should read it, and then you will answer
right.
it. Let's see.
If you could point younger Akin in one direction, one lesson to save him years of detours, what would it be? It's an amazing question. So first of all, I think a lot of things in my life turned out perfectly. I would say,
You're in a
I
good
would say
place.
just,
Do the
do
same.
the same. I think, and this is, this served me really well in life, but I'm thinking about this a lot more as I have younger kids that are growing up, and I see some patterns in my kids that I saw in myself and I didn't like. And there's one thing which is very hard for me to do, even to this day, and that is to prioritize yourself a little bit more than other people. It's okay to say no to something you don't want to do without giving a reason. So it's like, I think I do this well on the investing side, but like on the personal life front, like I was having this conversation with my daughter. I don't want her to be a people pleaser, but she kind of is. And, to be honest, like I kind of also like am like that a little bit. So, but honestly, it has served me very well in life. I have built good friendships as a result of that. It's not that it served me well. It's just like the kind of the tax it has on you, I think can be meaningful. So that's one thing I would say, but it's a minor point. I think in general, maybe a little bit, careful with the diet is something I would say, but I'm trying to fix that now. But yeah.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think the reverse of this question is more interesting. If you could tell Akin to do one thing again, what it would be.
What it would be.
And it would be just choice of life partner. That's like, and it sounds like a bullshit answer, I know, because it sounds like, but like, my wife is such an incredible person, and all of these things that we talked about is like thanks to her. So if I had anybody even remotely less supportive, it would end in a disaster for me, I think. So,
Amazing.
So anyway,
One of my favorite saying that I know, actually, I heard it first with Mikel Arteta, the coach of Arsenal.
Yeah.
We're here in London. That he drew for the team, I think one in the halftime during a soccer game. He asked them what mattered the most, like the end goal of the journey or the path.
yes,
And everyone gave its answer, and then he drew a huge X on it and just write the company, the companion that you have in this
Yes.
journey, because the way is unknown.
yes,
The go, like where you will reach, you can't really know that. And it's actually something that is taking me personally in all of my life now.
Yes.
That I don't know what will happen. I don't know what I will do. Like you said,
Yes.
it's just about how do I feel and who am I doing it with.
yes.
So it's, I can't.
100%. And not just in your personal life, in the business life as well. So this is why
everything.
I'm so lucky with Lior and Eyal. Just such incredible partners. When I decided to step back, they
It is a tough
understood and they
decision.
supported.
It
And
is a very
it is a
tough
tough decision, of course, but I'm very, very thankful. And yeah, I mean, it's without getting too sappy, it's like one of the things that is the most important decision for sure.
Amazing. Okay, let's speak about
Yes.
new games.
Yes.
Look, as an operator, a co-founder, investor,
Yes.
now, and especially now with Arcadia, you're spending more time with new companies that are
Yes.
launching all of the time new games,
Yes.
whether it's IAP or IAA. Why do you think almost all of the new launches of new games are failing?
Yeah. Um, I actually have a slightly different take on this, which is because, the narrative that gaming is so tough and so on. Let's realize mobile gaming is a very young business. It's been around for 14, 15 years, right? And ever since I've been in mobile gaming, which is very early on, I've heard that it's too late. Mobile gaming is too crowded. Mobile gaming is too competitive. In 2014, people were saying you cannot build another Match 3 on mobile.
Wow, insane. Because of
Right?
Candy Crush.
Because of Candy Crush.
Oh my
Because
God.
remember, put yourself in their shoes. They're like, it's logical, the argument. You have a game which is one of the most successful game launches ever, right? And it's been, and it's had like, I don't know, 90 million DAU or something like that at the peak. How can you compete against that? It's kind of a crazy thing, right? But then what happened? Let's take a look. Playrix came, Peak Games came, Dream Games came. These are all in Match 3, right? This is in one sliver of the overall universe of acceptable games, right? So let's just take stock of that one fact. Number two fact is, I think mobile gaming is way bigger than we all realize, even to this day. Like, I stopped saying numbers because we just don't know, We don't know. Really, we don't know. Because you read all the news reports and stuff.
100 million, 99,
No one knows.
80,
But they don't take
150.
into account in-app ads.
Yeah, they're not.
They don't take into account
can't.
all the off-store purchases that happen in Southeast Asia. They know, right? Like, so let's just say it's way bigger than we all think, and it's still. So I don't think there's. I'll say something crazy, which is, think about the fact gaming is bigger than movies and music combined, right? And then think about all of the attention that people have on movies and music, the magazines, the fans, this, that, right? That doesn't even exist in mobile games at all. So it is more competitive because it's very lucrative,
Exactly.
right? And I think people are used to, I think the mentality shift hasn't happened yet in the gaming community as a whole. I think people want the good old days where you make a game and all of a sudden it becomes successful. So I don't think that, there's something fundamentally wrong about the gaming market, right? I think actually the opposite. I think gaming market is so successful that it's attracted all this attention globally. And just the fact is the bar is a lot higher.
Oh, perfectly. So
Right?
how do you pass the bar today with launching new games?
This is where it gets really interesting. And this is kind of the thesis of the fund, Arcadia, a little bit. Mobile gaming, the reason that US, and the thesis behind this is many US VCs and many risk capital doesn't see gaming as a frontier technology, as an innovation technology. They're not wrong, right? But I think what the thesis difference between Arcadia and them is, we like the fact that it's an iteration category. It's not an innovation, it's an iteration category. So, what happens now a lot is teams that have worked together and learned the craft or the science, whatever you want to call it, of mobile gaming in one of those universities that we talked about, right? So like, to me, all these companies are universities. Playtika is an excellent university. Peak Games is a great university. Playrix, King, Supercell. These are all schools that you learn the art and science of gaming. And then you graduate from these schools and you want to start your own business. That's the perfect spot for Arcadia. So you have a team of 3 people, 4 people that have worked together on a successful game, maybe unsuccessful game, that have worked together before. And they now want to do something slightly different. So we're unlikely to get excited if 2 incredibly smart guys come and say, we're going to build the next Roblox, right? Could happen. But that's just not the thesis of the firm. We're way more likely to get excited. Like, I was one of the first investors in Dream Games. I was actually, the guy that, helped a bit. And, that's the perfect example, right? 5 of them work together at Peak Games. They built Toy Blast and they built Toon Blast. And now they're going to build something even bigger and better. That's the thesis that we're trying to, and of course, not every outcome will be like Dream Games. I wish it did, but those are the kind of companies that we get really excited about. So the bar is higher because, it's just more competitive. And we're not only competing against games, we're competing against TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. Attention, right? I remember at Tripledot, we would have these like usage spikes when there was like when Instagram was down, or when TikTok or like something happens that other platforms
people would just
hurt.
want to do something that is
exactly.
And you have a better alternative, which is mobile games.
Exactly.
Super
But the secular trend is, will people stop playing games? No. Will the mobile devices be replaced by something else? Unlikely in the near term. Maybe in the long term, yes, but unlikely in the near term. Which means that mobile gaming will always have an audience and will always have a market. It's just, how do you find the winners in that market? And because a lot of people are thinking, like how you described, like mobile gaming is dead or whatever, to me it's perfect because I know it's not dead. And for every time when people say mobile gaming is too crowded, impossible, there's a new company that makes $100 million a month.
This is insane.
Right? And the thing that you and I know, we talked about before, is those companies are coming from where? China, Turkey, Vietnam, maybe Israel. There's a few countries like that which has the ecosystem that is producing those things. And what is in common with those countries? People in those countries are working a lot. That's it. It's no secret.
Just to work hard.
There's also, of course, other things like when you have a success story like Peak and Graham and others, people say, whoa, I can do that. And then they just get channeled into those kind of organizations. And there's 2 other things that most people don't realize. One is, if you are the best student from the best university in Turkey, now you go into gaming.
This is one of the most interesting stuff that I know now that the Turkish industry, specifically for mobile games, is, I think, maybe first or second best after China or compared to China, which is just growing insanely, especially casual, especially puzzle games. And yeah, it's something that we spoke about in the past, that the best really students from the best university, where I can say in Israel, they're going to cyber, maybe in US, they're going to still to finance or some to tech, or here it's gaming.
Yes. And actually, that's I think mobile gaming in Turkey is like cybersecurity in Israel. It's very, very similar. It's the same type of ecosystem that is being built around it. It's of course earlier than cyber in Israel, but you see the energy on the ground. You see these guys that are like, graduating from top schools and going to some of these companies. And then on top of that, you see how hard they work. It's really, really remarkable. My brother is as you know, head of performance marketing for Dream Games. And, they work a lot. That's just, they work a lot.
Put it like that.
Let's just put it like that. But a lot of people confuse saying, they feel the pressure to work a lot. No, it's not the pressure. They're genuinely happy to work hard because they're winning. So it's one thing to work hard when you don't want to and you don't see the results. It's another thing to work hard where you see the results and you're like, dominant in your category. The last thing I'll say is government incentives is really remarkable in Turkey. There's insane amount of government incentive programs, and we can talk about that as well. But all those things come together, and then you have a success story like Turkey.
It's insane.
And China. We talk about this.
I want before China because I think it's for me now that we also started to work with a Chinese studios. It's, I think, the most interesting topic that I have also to discuss with you and in general today. let's speak about the buzzword AI
Yes.
a bit. How do you think today? Look, you see all of the studios,
Yes.
right? You see all of the studios, whether they're in the growth stage, whether they're now launching something like new game.
Yes.
Now let's speak about launching specifically new games.
Yes.
How do you think a game company should utilize AI today while launching a new game?
Yes. At a very high level, I think there's two things that you can do with AI. I think one is already being done a lot. Set is a perfect example of that. And I think the other one is not. So the first one is anything related to improving efficiency of the work you're already doing, right? So AI comes in and replaces, improves, or makes more efficient the work that you're doing with a lot of people. Creative production,
Assets production,
asset production, marketing asset production, any workflow that you have end to end, AI can help improve, right? That's fantastic. Let's just take pause of that fact. I mean, what Set is doing is absolutely incredible for all the gaming companies, right? Now, to really level up the game, we're talking about a future. I think we're 3 to 5 years away from AGI. So, we're talking about a future where you can, people use AI for level design, but I'm not even talking about level design. I'm talking about concept ideation. I'm talking about, the code writing itself, etc., is not that distant in a distant future, but all those things are within the realm of possibility. But that's going to be the step function change, because all the process improvement, workflow automation stuff is great, but it's not a step function change, right? It's 30, 40, 50, 60% incremental. We're talking about how do we, it's a paradigm shift. I don't think we're there yet. There's a few early signs of what we're seeing, people trying to do it here and there, but I haven't yet seen one that can ideate a concept, build that concept, launch that concept end to end.
Today LLMs they're basically still not there, and it's going to this direction of kind of inventing stuff. In the world of AI in general, the innovation of a model is something that people, working on it a lot, which again takes us to the AGI world, which is pretty insane. So today for studios, you recommend to use it for kind of content generation.
Yes.
Data leveraging. How would you think about that today?
First of all, I would recommend them to really use it. Try to use it for everything, right? I wouldn't recommend specific things. Like, try to have a, ground up rethink of everything you're doing. Creative production, we talked about data. I mean, that's an endless thing, right? Where the discussion becomes really interesting is how do you have access to anything proprietary, first-party data that you can actually leverage a lot better than what other people can, right? Maybe you have hundreds of millions of DAUs or MAUs or whatever, and you generate some data that, I don't know what it is. But yes, that is coming. Like somebody is going to figure out how to build these experiences completely in an automated way, for sure. For sure. It's not even a question of if, it's just
it's a question of when. When. And how would you utilize it? How the org charts will be different? I think it's going to be, fascinating to see how game companies will look like in 3 years from now, then in 5 years, and maybe in 10 years it will be.
Yes.
Maybe our agents will speak here instead of us, and another agent will open another studio. I don't know what will happen.
Everything was changing, right? I mean, I receive a lot of pitches for other things. Like one of them is someone is building a dating service where, your dating agent persona actually goes on a virtual date with everybody. And you know what I mean?
Provide you
feedback, and then you iterate on that. So everything we know is changing.
Yeah, and we kind of completed with this fact that is happening, so we're not excited about it anymore.
Exactly.
But it's insane.
Exactly. Like what I said is not really exciting. You're like, of course.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, that was insane. So I think it's just gonna happen.
Sci-fi.
I'm not really just excited about it for mobile gaming. I'm excited about for humanity what it can do and all of it. So Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
it's just super exciting.
Now
Super
let's
exciting.
speak about maybe a
Yes.
bit more, I don't know if more exciting, but very, very exciting about China. You came
Yes.
back from China Joy.
Yes.
You and I spoke, you sent me 9 books to read about China and
I
tell
did.
me read them immediately. It's the future will look like that.
Yes.
I think every few months a new game that is scaling like insanely. Kingshot, Whiteout, Capybara Go. We just see them from Hobby, from Century, from Hungry Games. You just see more and more Chinese
Yes.
studios that are just nailing new games in the West. How they do it?
Sure. Let me kind of take a detour, and if you don't, we can cut it later on if you want. But I'm absolutely fascinated by China for a few different reasons. One is this is in some ways the biggest humanitarian success story in the world. Is China perfect? No. But imagine what they did lifting 600, 700 million people out of poverty, right? Like you have to give credit to how they collectively did it. Whether it's capitalism under a different guise, whether it's whatever, I'm not discussing the political ideology. The second thing is, I was reading this thing when Angela Merkel went to China. They told her, of the 20 centuries, China was a leading force in the world for 18 of those centuries. And Merkel didn't believe it and then looked back, and it's actually true. So I'm absolutely fascinated about China. And what I saw on the ground, like before I went there in 2015 for China Joy again, was actually very, very different than what it is today. But before I went, I read all these things about China living in the future, and it is absolutely true. Like they're definitely living in the future. And in a way, it's really inspiring to see because, you talk about electric cars, you talk about AI and the amount of money and resources they're putting behind AI, and all of that is, regardless of your political take on China, that should be a very interesting place to see and to visit, right? And no country is perfect. Like we started a conversation how much I love the U.S. Is the U.S. perfect? No, right? For this specific genre, I think, first of all, they're very, very smart about, going after a market and doing it with enough resources and doing it with enough savviness that I have seen. Second is everybody's working a lot. I mean, there's really, I get a lot of flack for this, but there's really no shortcut to success. It's you are what you put in, right? So I think they work a lot, and they have this hunger to want to win, and we can sit about why that is, but that's just a fact. You see it on the ground. People work from like 9 till 8, 5 days, 6 days a week. And that's just the thing. So you go there, everybody's in the office all the time, and they're just working really, really hard. So, and they're smart. And I think the biggest thing that I realize is when they spot an opportunity, they're just relentless. They go after it very, very big. So to me, that was, as a person, as a techno optimist, it was a fantastic thing to see. And on a human level, also fascinating. Like a lot of people say there's no privacy in China. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's true. But because of all the cameras and all of those things, there's also no crime. It's like the thing about, like, what we talk about, like Dubai and, and it's not an easy country for a Westerner to understand. So we shouldn't try to, place judgment on China as a country based from our Western lenses, just like we wouldn't want them to place judgment on us through their Chinese lenses, right? So it's just a different culture. But I mean, it's like I pulled up this data for my LPs the other day, and I was looking at, one of the narratives we hear is how hard it is to break into the top, 25, 30. And you look at it, and actually, of the games that have done so, right? Majority of them are Chinese.
It's insane.
Right? And you have these like 4X games that use different like UA tactics and everything that are breaking. And one of them is making like $140 million a month within the span of like a year. You know, that we have to be in awe of that, regardless of what your position is on China. The people's lives and everybody that I talk to, right? They're very happy living there. Quite happy. Everybody's working hard, so it doesn't really bother you. That's like the norm. And
Yeah.
so,
How do you think the Western studio can compete with that today? Especially
look, it's very hard.
it is very hard.
Like, I think there is a special type of know-how that's still super valuable that exists in certain ecosystems, right? This is why we don't see a hybrid casual or casual yet coming from China, right? Maybe.
See some merge is pretty strong with Haber and
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
That. But
So,
it's not
you
that
know,
famous like
Microfun. I know
yeah.
is like one of my very good friends, the founder of Microfun. I know, you know, the journey they got through to get there. There's really, I mean, very few secrets. And the guy from Dream Games, they're working just as hard as the Chinese guys. So overall, I think, you know, you have to assume that to level the playing field, you have to work just. And I'm not just saying this as like a hustle porn, okay? I really don't want to advocate for that. But the reality is, this is not a field where, like, you know, let's take AI, for instance, right? AI came from the West, right? Now China is in a place where they're investing a lot of resources, and, you know, the amount of new breakthroughs they're doing is actually phenomenal. I'm not talking about just DeepSeek. I'm talking about fundamental breakthroughs they're doing in AI is phenomenal. The criticism that people make on China is, US is always great to go from 0 to 1, and China will replicate it in a very fast way. I think that misses the point entirely, because there's nothing inherently uninnovative about Chinese culture, right? If you look back in the long arc of history, printing press, gunpowder, ink, these are all Chinese inventions. It's just maybe lately they're better at replicating stuff than originating stuff, but I believe that will change. I think they will be very good at replicating. That's the biggest, I guess, unknown is how do they go from 0 to 1? And the common criticism is, well, they don't have this culture of risk-taking and so on. That's not what I saw, I can tell you. There's no culture that lacks anything in risk-taking. So how do you compete as a Western studio? I think you just have to realize that the luxury of working 32, 35 hours a week is over. If you want to succeed, you have to work hard. That's just a, common saying, but it's true.
And for a few last question, what for new studios today, or I'm a young founder, I want to develop a game, I want to raise a bit money. What are your recommendations to this type of people that now wants to open a company? Because I'm sure a lot of the listener here will be, people that are thinking about it.
Yeah.
They're working already in studios that, hey, it might be a great time. We have now AI. I learned a lot. I have the know-how. What is your main recommendations?
So I'll say that if you are unsure, so look, first of all, I'll say, when we were about to start Tripledot, I went to talk to a good friend of mine, and said, I'm doing this. I didn't say I'm thinking about doing this, and I'm doing it. And he said, well, starting a startup is like statistically a stupid decision.
Yeah, it's not rational.
It's not rational, right? So you should only do it if that's the only thing you can think of doing. And that was the only thing I could think of doing. So, but, I would say just recognize, the best time to, I forget which saying it is, but the best time to do something is today, right? And, the best time to do something was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So like, just do it. It will always, you will not, you can always get a job if it doesn't work out. That's kind of what
just
got me
do
motivated.
it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
What is it? What's the saying? If not me, then who? If not now, then when? Right? So it's very, very true. I would say, think the large picture is right now is a great time, in my opinion, to start a gaming company. Because if you think this is a cyclical business. So, right now, because of competition, not many people are starting gaming companies, and the people that are the ones that would start a gaming company under any circumstances.
Exactly.
So it's a perfect cohort that we have to find, like, the winners. That's what the fund's goal is. And it's going to take you a couple of years to get off the ground anyway. And if the cyclicality thing is right, then in 2 years, you're going to be on the upswing. So you're going to spend these 2 years on the downswing building, and then 2 years later, 3 years later, you're going to be on the upswing. It's going to be a glorious place to be. There's no better joy in the professional life you can have than seeing something that you building growing like crazy. You know this very well because you guys are on fire. Knock on wood. But that's
fulfilling.
It's fulfilling.
Yeah.
That's what people mean when they say, "I'm not doing it for the money." It's bullshit. We're all doing for the money.
And it's okay to do it for the money.
It's okay to do it for the money, right? But what people say, "I'm not doing it for the money," is literally that is a special type of ecstasy and joy that you get out of this. And, most VCs, like it or not, they don't know that. So they can't empathize with founders, I think, the same way that I can. There's some really great VCs out there, of course. But I think what resonates with founders for me is that I've gone through that journey and I know...
Yeah, you're a builder in your heart.
Yes.
You know what it is. You know
Yes.
the tough times, you know the good times.
Exactly.
But you're saying it's all about now.
Yes.
It's really... It will always be hard. It's also a famous saying that we hear as a startup, and you know it well. Now it's not a good time to raise money. It's and all of the time you see the good companies raise money under any circumstances. So
exactly.
So
Never
it's
try to time the market.
So you're saying do it now. There is
Yes.
no better time. Endurance. It will
Yes.
take time.
Absolutely.
And you repeated it a lot, and I'm a big fan of that. You need to fucking work hard.
Yes.
Just work
Absolutely.
hard. You don't have the privilege of the know-hows anymore. You might have a small advantage there, but it's all about executing
Yes.
and iterating fast. It's brilliant. As the last question,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, Kingpin of mobile games. What
That's
the
a friend
fuck
of mine
is
said
this?
Oh, man. So the story about my fund leaked to, I think, Bloomberg. And as part of their research, they reached out to a very good friend of mine. She's a brilliant woman, Rina from Spike. I'll name her. And she apparently told them that word, which is like, Lior makes fun of me even to this day when he answers the phone. He's like, "What's up, Kingpin?" Which is like, I'm like, dude, I didn't tell people to say that. But no, I think it's just like, I really believe in this market. I'm not a gamer, like in the stereotypical sense, right? My gaming persona is a 60-year-old woman from Wisconsin. Like, I love casual games. I love those type of games, right? But I don't have like a console PC at my house that I play games on, etc. If you don't count chess. So I try to be as involved as I can. And, I've done few things to help out, not just Turkey, but also like my friends, So, I've been lucky enough to be invested in some really iconic companies like Dream Games and Good Job Games and you guys and Spike and Bigger and Agave and et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that's just, she was saying that as a half joking thing. And also, I think this is a two-sided marketplace. There's entrepreneurs on one side, there's also investors on the other side. So I always try to be like long-term greedy. This I learned from Lior. It's like, he says, I'm long-term greedy, not short-term greedy.
I will send it afterwards.
So it's a very true thing. It's like, if you do the right things, in the short term, they might look like the wrong things. But if you have this like horizon that is close to infinite as possible, then, you always want to optimize for that, doing the right thing for the long term, not for now.
Amazing. Akin, before even thank you for doing this podcast, I would like to thank you personally, because what we spoke before about you don't know where you will finish and what is the way, for being really a companion in Seth's journey and in my personal also journey as a mentor. And thank you very much. I thanks behalf all of the industry that hopefully will hear this about these great insights. And I really recommend everyone in the world, no matter what, if you're game companies, if you're, I don't know what, just to speak with you, to walk with you, to discuss about philosophical stuff with you. It's really always a pleasure. You are the best. So thank you
You are
very,
the
very
best.
much.
And likewise, I mean, it's genuinely so inspiring to see what you're doing. When I was your age, I was like completely nowhere near where you are. So, you know, it's a huge pleasure. So
I love you a lot.
love
Thank you
too.
very much.
All right.